Morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Color Stories, and welcome to another month. This is July 2nd as I'm starting to film this, and I apologize for the delays this week. It's just been a week. So before I turn the camera around and get started with kind of art history nerd page that I love to do at the beginning for each color, I did want to mention this book. This is Indigo by Catherine McKinley, and I couldn't put it down. It is part personal travel log, part history, part research. She is of Jewish and African descent, but was adopted and raised by a family of Scots, she calls them, in New England. So not only is it a research into indigo and fabric and the processes of dyeing, but it's a trip to Africa and it's connecting with part of her heritage. And absolutely, 5 out of 5 recommend this. So I will definitely say that there's going to be a heavy focus on indigo fabric, indigo dyeing, but also its cousin woad, because that is from Scotland and Europe and connected to my kind of Celtic heritage and ancestry. So forgive the crazy hair. I'm about to turn the camera around and turn the fan on because it is a little warm up here. But I will also say that I'm going to try and keep my schedule with one video about indigo or woad each week, but I do have 2 weeks of travel in July, so I'm going to try and get things done in advance and then release them to you in a timely fashion. But if you're not subscribed or following me, please do. You could find me on Instagram, but also here on YouTube, where I hope to post some shorts and some reels on Instagram with the travel that is going to happen. So like and subscribe. Stay tuned to watch how this little art history video unfolds, and I look forward to seeing you in future weeks for other episodes of Color Stories. So let's turn the camera around. Indigo. So indigo comes from, the word comes from Indicon, which translates as substance from India, because that's where the majority of indigo was coming from. Indigo is very connected to the slave trade and to enforced labor. The colonial forces colonizing India had forced labor farms growing indigo. It was a huge cash crop for import into Europe. It doesn't grow well in European or British climates. It's also the story of enslaved peoples that were farming indigo in the American colonies, South Carolina, North Carolina, that region, because the demand for this beautiful blue color was so great. Now, to back up a little bit, indigo has been used as a dye as far back as Egypt, 5,000 years, back to Peru, to Egypt, and of course to India. It comes from the Indigofera plant, and the Latin name is Indigofera tinctoria, and it is, I think, a shrub-like plant, but the process is so labor-intensive. The leaves are soaked in water, releases indican, an amino acid. That's kind of turns yellow and is allowed to ferment with other plant enzymes. The result is indoxal, which is left out to dry and then oxidizes with the air and turns into that blue indigo we're used to seeing. That is then mixed with an alkaline, like bicarbonate of soda, pressed into cakes and dried to create the pigment. So labor-intensive, but extremely valuable in so many different cultures as a colorant, even used as money sometimes. Now, in Genoa, Italy, they made a sturdy cotton fabric that was favored by fishermen and miners, a workman's clothing. So blue of Genoa eventually kind of morphed into blue jeans. In France, there was another town, Nîmes, France, that was doing an alternative blue fabric dyed with indigo, but it was a twill, so it was remarkably dark on one side and pale on the other. Denim? Yes, denim. So we're all familiar with it. We probably all wear it because Levi Strauss turned this sturdy cotton fabric of the working people into the utilitarian clothing that we're so familiar with. blue collar workers, yes, blue, indigo. Now, in the UK, you would get woad, and the plant is kind of a cousin to indigo. It's Isatis tinctora, but the yield is 1/3 of indigos. And so while it grows in that temperate climate, you need 3 times as much to yield the dyestuffs. It is connected to the Celts, who would use it to dye their skin in preparation for battle. So on this spread, now that you can see the whole spread while I apply the watercolor washes, I am using indigo watercolor paint. So in various lights and darks, just with more water added, I throw in a little ultramarine or cobalt blue. You'll see that in a sec. But on the left side of the spread, I have 2 very fantastical illustrations of an imagined Celt with tattoos, designs in woad all over her body. I have a denim reference in the middle. I have both plants pictured, but the right side is especially reserved for the Tuareg people. Right now I'm painting this background around 2 pieces that I've drawn that were Tuareg silver pieces of jewelry. Now they are a Berber tribe, semi-nomadic, and so they are located in northern Africa like Mali, Niger, Algeria. Interestingly enough, they are a matrilineal society, and while women wear a veil to cover their hair, the men wear the veil to cover their faces. And while it is partially for modesty, there's also the practicality of covering your face from the heat, the sun, the sand, the dust of being out in the desert and living that nomadic lifestyle. So they are sometimes called the blue people of the Sahara. Those indigo veils that they wear can dye their skin. I mean, think about, well, when I was a kid and you'd get a new pair of blue jeans, they would bleed and dye. Quite often you had to wash them a couple times alone by themselves to not tint all of your other clothes blue. Excuse me. So a huge focus on indigo and woad so far. Indigo is used a lot in doing ikat dyeing of fabric, so maybe there will be some inspiration drawn from those designs coming up. But all in all, this was a wonderful page to research. I do highly recommend that book. That was where a lot of the inspiration for this spread has come from. You can look more into the process of dyeing indigo. I've actually done some with a friend. We did some dish towels, some pillowcases. It was really, really fun. And it's magical to see this yellow bucket of water. You dip your pieces in, and as they come out and start to oxidize, they turn that bright blue. So thank you for tuning in, and stay tuned for more episodes of Color Stories coming up in the next weeks, including a giveaway. Like and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.